Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 22nd season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 247 with Fight on State. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Peter Terpstra, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAlear's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime. I'm Peter Terpstra, joined by the Nitwits, Neil, Mark, and our special guest, Keith Conlon. Goon, welcome.
What's going on, fellas?
How are you, buddy? Yep.
Good to be back.
Doing this for a while.
Yep. 7-8 years in a row now for you.
Yep. Honorary nitwit, for sure.
We appreciate it. Penn State just had a win over Buffalo. It was close at halftime. Ended up being 45-13. Mark, what are your first thoughts right off the top?
Well, I think the key obviously was at halftime they honored the 1994 team with Goon and his friends, and then everybody drew motivation from that. No, I mean, to me it was a tale of two halves for this game. In the first half, Penn State came out, did not look at all prepared. I don't think the players look especially motivated coming off of that Idaho game. Maybe that was a little bit too easy for them. So you could be critical about that stuff, but I do think you have to give the coaching staff credit for the moves they made and kind of the confidence they instilled at halftime and the way Penn State came out and put it away fairly quickly in the second half after a quick turnover, but then John Reed had to pick six.
You know, Buffalo, really good offensive schemers, found a lot of holes in the Penn State defense, which I think is something that, Penn State was going to have to address going forward. But I do give Brent Pry and the staff credit. It looked like they were being outcoached in the first half, and in some ways they were. But they did a lot of subbing on defense, 2 and even 3 deep, to keep them fresh. And I think that created a wear-down factor for Buffalo that you saw in the second half. That once the train kind of got rolling, it was clear. And it was a very strong second half for Penn State to carry some momentum into the next portion of the schedule.
I think you had your playmakers really show up there. I mean, Freiermuth, freshman All-American. You expect him to make big-time plays, but you got to see Jahan Dotson really make some plays. And you haven't seen as much from him. He just didn't play as much, but he has it.
I think the issue, though, to me was the O-line and Goon. You could speak to that as much as anybody. As much as we want to talk about the skill players, being the receivers and quarterbacks playing really well, the running game just was not good. What did you see from the running game?
Yeah, it was a real lack of a run game, and I mean, let's just take Idaho off the table right now because that really wasn't even a football game, in my opinion. So you're looking at, the old adage that the most improvement that you're going to make is from week 1 to week 2. So we didn't have a week 1. So that was really our week 1 right there.
If you don't want to use that adage, you cancel week 1.
So the first half just showed that we weren't ready to play, and like we talked about the Army and Michigan game that was on before, that those MAC teams, those younger teams that come in to play in the top 15 programs, you're going to take their best shot. And Buffalo threw 2 haymakers and connected on 1. So we rebounded very well in the second half, thank God. Played a great second half, and then that's the next steps towards the next week.
This would be a very different show if they did not have that second half. And to a point, I mean, you couldn't feel too worried because you always have that expectation, that potential with all the playmakers that Penn State does have.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the offensive line, they won that game with 3 rushing first downs. I mean, that's almost unheard of. And the fact that Buffalo kept the ball for 90 plays, there's some things that, Penn State has some skilled players that they're able to get the ball to in open space. And when they can do that, I just wonder, Pitt, Maryland. Hey, right. Maryland putting 60 on Syracuse was one of the big surprises yesterday. I think some other teams on the schedule are going to look at Penn State and say, hey, they may be a little vulnerable.
Yeah, I wrote it. I mean, I never got the sense that Penn State was in trouble in that game of losing that game. But you have to, when you're looking at these games, you do have to look big picture. And yeah, Sean Clifford was able to come out and kind of guide that passing game and find, KJ Hamler, Dotson. Obviously, Freiermuth made some terrific plays. But when you get into the Big Ten, and even against Pitt, you are going to have to run the ball. Yes. We know from Goon's 94 team, they were so balanced. They 250 yards per game rushing, 250 passing. You cannot be one-dimensional in this league. Nope. And that's why, as this team moves forward, I said it from the beginning, the offensive line is the key to this entire team, and they have to keep getting better. I thought the first half was a step back. Second half, they played a little bit better, but still not where you need them to be against the Buffalo.
All right, coming up next on Nittany Nation Overtime, we're going to get more into that first half. Not the greatest performance as we've hit on, but what does that mean for Penn State going forward? We'll talk about it next.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking Penn State Buffalo. Penn State did get the win, but that first half was a little ugly at times. Why did it take, I guess, that kind of performance for the team to wake up? What do you think?
Well, I think, part of it, and this is going to sound like what coaches always say, but I think it was true in this case, that you have a very well-coached Buffalo team. Leopold has done it at a lot of different levels, and I also thought Buffalo was very smart in that they opened with Robert Morris, a lower division team that they knew they were going to be able to handle, and they put nothing on tape. They threw only 10 passes in that game, so Penn State didn't know how to game plan. And you got to give that Myers kid a lot of credit that he came out, he had 10 career pass attempts before that game, and he came out and he performed with a lot of poise. Having said all that, the Penn State defense, in my view, has to play better, especially on third downs, than it did in that first half.
Yeah, shouldn't they have been able, regardless of what was on tape, shouldn't they have been able to get after the quarterback and cover the open guys a little more closely than they're able to? I mean, he showed a lot of poise, and they were impressive for a 30-point underdog to come in and I think play. They laid it all out there. I can't remember that much of a decided underdog throwing. I mean, this game wasn't going to go into the fourth quarter, but I thought they played with tremendous heart.
What was the line at App State last year? I mean, it was pretty healthy, wasn't it?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't think it was 30 though.
But,
We'll
I think you have to go
look.
back. And Goon, this is another
Yeah.
thing that you could talk about. Buffalo lost a lot of its skill players via the transfer portal, and one kid, the quarterback, unwisely took off for the NFL a year early. But that offensive line came back almost intact from a 10-2 team. And how important was that for Buffalo being able to do what it was able to do?
As I say every year, you tell me of a team that has ever won anything that didn't have a good offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, it all starts up front with the guys. And the more you play together, the longer you play together, the better the chances are. And we're a young defense. We're a young team all around. And you've got a team out there. I mean, it was reminiscent of that Ohio game in 2012 with O'Brien's first game. Remember how Ohio came in here with a really good offensive line and a really good quarterback, and they put it to us. And it looked a lot like that yesterday in the first half.
Is it some offensive identity though? You're trying to figure out who your number one fullback or tailback is. Slade's only carried.
Fullback.
That's another separate show. But he's only carried 8 times. He fumbled yesterday. You come out, you throw 3 straight passes to open the game. So who are you trying to be? Are you trying to establish some level of a run?
No, I mentioned it.
You're running the quarterback draw. He ran a half a dozen quarterback draws.
Well, they're going to. I mean, what we're going to face this year is they're going to make us run the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to take away the pass, and then you got to soften them up with the pass opening, with the run to set the pass up. And that's what's going to happen this year. That's how it's going to be until we prove we can run the football.
Well,
it's going to happen every week.
I don't even think Penn State has to be a dominant run team. They just have to be a kind of
the ability to
consistent
get
run.
it.
And I'm not as down as the QB running, Neil. Had Clifford not run in this game, you would have been limited to 10 rushing yards overall. And I think he did some good things with that. They have shown a willingness in the past, the recent past, to find a featured back and stick with him. I think they still have to find that featured back. The fact that Ricky Slade had a big fumble at what could have been a key time did not bode well. I don't think we saw him after that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over these next few weeks. But all that aside, I think for Penn State, it all goes back to that O-line, and that just has to be a more consistent group.
From the running back's perspective, when you're trying to get somebody comfortable and settle into a running game, and of course yesterday you only ran 40-some plays, so that factors into it too. Yeah. McSorley took a real beating last year, and by the end of the year he was a banged-up player.
Well, I'm not saying you have to run as much as he did, but that the quarterback's ability to move around, I think, is key in this offense. In terms of people taking away Penn State's passing game, I'm going to be interested to see how that works, Keith, because last year a big part of Penn State losing its passing game was guys dropping passes. Sure. So it's imperative that these guys keep catching passes. Now, they have for the most part. KJ had 1 or 2, but they really – I think that will really help them as well, as to be more consistent in not dropping passes the way those veterans did last year.
But also not having a run game tires out your defense. And at times I think we saw that in the first half. Buffalo kept the ball for 22 minutes.
Right, but you also said you were playing second team.
Offense.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, speaking of the 1994 team, segue. Coming up next, it's been 25 years since that undefeated season. We just so happen to have one of those guys in our studio right now. That's next.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV. Get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group. Committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to the show. Halftime was a turning point in this game, and also Penn State recognizing its undefeated 1994 team. Keith, you were on that team. What was it like to kind of meet up with some of your old buddies?
Oh, that was great. We had a great time. Friday night we had a little reunion downtown.
Yeah.
Before, during, and after, we had a nice little reunion, if you know what I mean. So had a really good fun time just seeing guys. A lot of guys don't come back often. I live in State College. I got about 5 or 6 guys that are close, that tailgate a lot. But guys like Bucky Greeley, Kerry Collins, Kyle Brady, they don't get back much. I don't see Jeff Hardings as often as I'd like. Saw all those guys yesterday, so just fantastic, just fun times and good people and great times in my life.
Yeah. One thing when we were, Good and I drove down today, and one thing he mentioned is you forget, now everybody knows that Goon's a big man, but you forget how big somebody's like Kyle Brady and Kerry Collins. I mean, these were big guys at skill positions back then. I mean, that team, wow, the offensive firepower was crazy.
Yeah, of course, John Carter, he walked through the parking lot. And, I mean, there's some guys from 25 years ago you'd say, is that so-and-so or so-and-so? He's one of the unmistakable guys in Penn State history. Him, Franco Harris, really clearly recognize them. But, Bobby Ingram, you guys had so many great NFL, college and NFL players.
Our offense alone had 5 first-team All-Americans. I don't think you'll ever see that ever again. And then what Mark talked about earlier with the parity between rush and pass, it was just so evenly. We always used to say you got to pick your poison. What do you want to stop? If you want to stop the run game, then Kerry's going to throw for 4 touchdowns. If you want to stop Kerry from throwing the ball around, Keyshawn is going to run for 400 yards. So pick your poison. What do you want?
Well, and then the iconic play outside of what happened against Illinois. Explain what happened on Kajana's touchdown run against Oregon in a Rose Bowl.
First play of the game. It was one of those funny things, and we had played a lot of football together. We were done well all year, and watched Nebraska play the night before, and Bob Costas gave the whole congratulations to your national champions. So we had big old chip on our shoulder, but you're still playing the Rose Bowl in front of 100 million people, and you got nerves. You could sit there and say you don't, but you do. So the first play of the game, we actually had the ball. It's a pitch play or just a straight handoff, and fullback lead up on the linebacker and with a guard pulling. Went to the line of scrimmage and Oregon was dancing around, and I called Kyle down to block my guy, and I was going to pull, and Jeff was going to do this and this and that. When Jeff should have pulled, Kyle should have blocked, I should have blocked. But I end up pulling. Kyle, as a tackle. Hardings just sees me pull, and the 3 technique got unblocked, and he did make the play. Jeff runs around. I hit somebody off of a fullback. Keyshawn needed just one little crack. And he goes and he takes it 83 yards and comes to the sidelines, and our offensive line coach is Craig Sever. He's like, who'd you get? I was like, I pulled. He's like, what are you doing pulling? And then Kyle was like, I blocked down. And he's like, well, who blocked the end? Who did this? Who did that? And he's like, and then the backside guys all missed their blocks. Not one person blocked the right person. And we went 83 yards in the first play.
That's how good that offense was.
That's what said. He goes, wow, we're really that good. It was like one of those things, man.
The undefeated and the bond that you guys have, how much more does a team that has a championship pedigree like that sort of stay together, and the way you guys are remembered, and you get to come back and be honored?
I'm very close to the program back in the 80s because of my older brother, so I saw the 86 team and I see how they're all still very tight, and my team's still very tight, and teams that I played with after, and they don't really have that bond. And it is, there's definitely a huge bond that we have. It's like you can't take it away from us what we had done. And as much as the politicians and the sports writers didn't give us a national title, we were national champions in my opinion. I don't think anybody could have beat us. And somebody was in the parking lot yesterday and said, "Hey, what do you think? Your honest opinion. Do you think you'd be the best team in Penn State history?" I said, I know we were the best team in Penn State history. And he's like, what about 68, 69? I said, come on, man, I don't know. I was born in 72, but yeah, we beat them.
Heads to head, I think.
We had Smear in here last week, and now we got Keith Conlon, two pillars.
You guys been around, you tell me.
It was the greatest offense in Penn State history, clearly.
Yep.
If I had to pick one team, I would pick the 94. To win a tournament, that would be the team that I would pick, because I don't think anybody could score with it.
Because you don't know if the 86 team would have been able to generate quite as much offense, the 68, 69 team for the foundation that it did to the Paterno era. It was a different, they were playing an Eastern schedule.
I say 82 stacks up the best.
Yeah.
Now, Goon, you can't watch when the 82 or somebody from 68, 69, or 86 is on the show, because we're going to say the same thing to them.
Sure, gotcha. All right. I understand completely.
Okay, coming up next, we got a big-time opponent coming in here this next week. Could this be the last Penn State game for the foreseeable future? We'll talk about that. Plus, prediction time next.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Dorman's Jewelry. The answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hey, hi, hello, Nittany Nation Overtime, joined by the NitWits. We're going to wrap things up here in just a bit. We have Pitt coming in Beaver Stadium, the last Penn State Pitt game on the future schedules as of right now. But this can't be it. I mean, I don't know.
It doesn't look like it has an immediate future.
Yeah.
They're talking, if there'd be any kind of resumption, it would be like 2030. And if that is the case, they'll have met 8 times in 38 years. So,
yeah.
I mean, what we grew up with, a lot of people, particularly in Western Pennsylvania, as a very special rivalry, really is clearly not the same anymore. But I still think it's a cool game, and it should be a fun day Saturday for both sides.
It's going to be a tear from Neil's eye because he's always advocating for this game, but you just can't play it anymore, especially with the 9-game Big Ten schedule. If you want to play other teams like Virginia Tech and Auburn and some of the other people who are on the schedule, you just can't do it. And I've always said, kind of jokingly, kind of not jokingly, that this game means more to people from Altoona to Pittsburgh than it does really anywhere else. I think some Penn State fans outside of that care, but I think they would rather see a more diversified schedule. So, let's see what happens after this game and then when they look at maybe rescheduling a decade from now. All
right, so let's bring up the Nitwit of the Week standings. It was a late one this last game.
Shouldn't be alphabetical order. I mean, I didn't realize I won, but that's cool.
Oh, okay,
Thanks.
yeah, sure you did. All right, well,
if Levis threw it, it would have been our.
That means that I go first?
Yep, that means you go first.
Listen, emotions are going to be key in this game, and I'm anxious to see if Penn State's able to counter. Pitt's going to come in here. They want to keep playing this game. Penn State, it's really not as big a deal to them. I think it's going to be key for Penn State to play with a lot more emotion, a lot more poise, all those things in the first half. But I think in the end, there's too much of a talent disparity with some of the people Pitt has lost. I'm going to go 35-14 Penn State.
Wow. I think if you're Pitt last year, you're kicking yourself because you were really running the ball hard.
Yeah.
And you talk about poise. Marduzzi lost his poise in that game, and really the Pitt team lost its poise. I think they're going to pick up on where they were when they were in the football game in the first half last year, try to establish a run, try to keep Penn State's big playmakers off the field. I see a little bit more of a defensive struggle. I'm going to say Penn State 28, Pitt 17.
All right, so last year's Pitt game, it was just pouring rain. That was probably the worst rain game I've ever been a part of because it just did not let up the entire time. And even with that, Penn State put up a lot of points. But I think, as you mentioned, with the emotions, I'm always picking lower scoring, lower margins. I think Penn State's going to win 24-21, close game. I think that's a good way to kind of keep it close through the end and get ready for Big Ten play.
Interested to see, like I said, they throw the Idaho game away, make the improvement from week 1 to week 2. That's where we're at right now. So I think that first half was a great learning experience for our guys this week, and it is a big rivalry game, and sort of what James has been talking about for the last 6-7 years, and dominate the state, and this is how you do it. So I got Penn State big. Let's go 40-14.
All right, we got about a minute left.
Goon was getting choked up there over the.
Yeah, right. The whole rivalry is going away.
He's with me.
Well, it means nothing to
extending the series, and he canceled this year's opener already.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
He has the power.
Yes, sir.
I think that this game is going to mean a lot to the folks around Pennsylvania. It's going to be really fun. Earlier kickoff Wake up early, folks. Get out there. Get ready to go. Brew some coffee.
It'll be interesting to see how the parking situation goes. I think it was better this past week. We'll see what it's like for a noon game.
The lot was very much empty, though.
Yeah.
This week's huge for the parking. It's going to be mayhem, I think.
All right, that's going to do it for us.
We'll
That was
see.
Nittany Nation Overtime, folks. We'll see you next week.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.